Hello class. Today we're going to be starting chapter 8 and we'll be looking at circles. So this is 8.1, circles in circumference. If you need to, go ahead and pause right here so you can flip to this section in our notes and have a pencil or pen ready. So again, today is about circles and circumference, kind of an introduction to circles. We'll begin with our essential question, that is, how do you find the circumference to a circle? And before we can answer this question, we have to have some basic definitions of the parts of a circle. So we'll begin by a center. Center is located in the very middle of a circle. And the center is equal distance from every part of the circle. And what that means is that if I go to this part of the circle, it's an equal distance to the center as if I went from this part of the circle. Or if I went from the center to this part of the circle, all those distances would be exactly the same. Next is the radius, which is the distance from the center to the circle. So a radius is essentially a line that we can draw from the center of our circle. Here's our center. And I can draw a radius from the center of the circle out to any edge. So I'll just do this as our one example. But you could imagine that there could be multiple radii. So I could draw a radius from the center to here. I could draw the radius from the center to here, or from the center to here. Essentially, I could draw a radius from the center to any point along the circle. Now, the diameter of a circle is the distance across the circle through the center. So here what we're getting at is if I start from one edge of the circle and I draw a line that passes through the center to the other edge of the circle, that's my diameter. So we'll have a line that goes to the center and then goes straight through. And again, you can imagine, just like a radius, I could have a diameter through any part of the circle. Or maybe I connected two radii and then I'd have a diameter. So this line across is our diameter. Now a chord is a line with endpoints on the circle. And so what makes a chord different is it doesn't necessarily have to pass through the center. So if I connected any 2 points on the circle, just drew a straight line to connect them, this is a chord. And you can imagine I could connect a chord from this point to this point, or from this point to this point. If I drew a line that connected any two parts of my circle, that would be a chord. So what we're going to start with is, how do we find the radius? And to find the radius, we will use this equation. Radius is equal to 1/2 times the diameter. And if you want, since we might be using a calculator, we can say radius is equal to 0.5 times the diameter. And we will shorten this notation by saying radius is equal to 0.5 d. So if my diameter is 15 feet, so this is saying that d equals 15 feet, I'm just going to substitute in the 15 for the d. So I'll have r equals 0.5 times 15. So let me repeat that again. I apologize. The radius is equal to 1/2 times the diameter. And since we'll be using our calculator, we'll have the radius is equal to 0.5 times the diameter. And we can shorten the diameter by using the letter d. So we'll have the radius is equal to 0.5 d. And since my diameter is equal to 15 feet, we can substitute in the 15 for the d, and we'll get radius is equal to 0.5 times 15. So when we plug this into our calculator, we'll get radius is equal to 7.5. So if the radius is equal to half of the diameter, what do you think the diameter will equal when compared to the radius? Well, if the radius is half the diameter, then the diameter must be equal to 2 times the radius. And again, we can shorten the word radius so that we use a variable, and we'll just have 2r. So if my radius is equal to 3, r equals 3, I'm just going to substitute in the 3 for the r. So diameter is equal to 2 times 3, which means the diameter is equal to 6 inches. I forgot our units on the first one, 7.5 feet. On the next section, we're going to try to find the circumference. So we need to know how to find a diameter to be able to find a circumference. So we're going to use the equation circumference is equal to diameter times pi. But we can shorten these again, so I'm going to shorten circumference with the letter C. I'm going to shorten diameter with the letter D. And then we'll multiply it by pi. For us, what we're going to use, since pi is a number that is a decimal that goes on forever, we will always just shorten it up, and we will use pi is equal to 3.14. So anytime we have to type it in our calculator, we will use this value. Okay, so when I look at some of these examples, what I notice here is that, well, I'm not given a diameter. This is a radius. It goes from the center to the outside of the circle. So this is really a radius. But I need a diameter to get there. So how am I going to find a diameter if I know a radius? Well, if we use our equation from above, we can just take our radius and multiply it by 2, and then we'll find the diameter. So first things I'll do is say diameter is equal to 2 times r, meaning diameter is equal to 2 times 6. So I know my diameter is equal to 12 feet. Now I can find the circumference by saying the circumference is equal to the diameter times pi. We already know what our diameter is, and we know what number we're going to use for pi. So I'm going to say circumference is equal to 12 times 3.14. We plug this into our calculator, and we'll get circumference is equal to 37.68 feet. Now if you would please go ahead and pause and try this one on your own, the second circle right here. Okay, so hopefully you pause and try this on your own. The idea is I'm given a radius, so I know radius is equal to this, but I need to find a diameter to be able to solve for my circle. So we know that diameter is equal to 2 times 42, or the diameter will equal 84 inches. And now I can use my equation because I know my diameter, 84 inches, and I know pi, 3.14. So I have my circumference is equal to 84 times 3.14. And we use our calculator, and we'll get that the circumference is equal to 263.76. We use our units, which is inches. On this next problem, we are given a diameter. So this one's even easier. I already know that my diameter equals 26. So I have my diameter equals 26 meters. And I'm just going to plug in my diameter I have, and I know what my pi number will be. So my circumference will equal 26 times 3.14. So then I plug this into my calculator and I get 26 times 3.14 equals, and we'll have our circumference is equal to 81.64 meters. Now again, if you would, please pause the video, try this one on your own. Then when you come back, we'll do it together, and then we'll be done with today's lesson. So hopefully you pause the video. And again, this one's very similar to this one, where we're already given the diameter. So I already know my diameter is equal to 7 yards. So I can use the diameter is equal to 7 yards. I can plug in my diameter into my equation. I know what my pi is going to be for my equation, so I can now find my circumference. So my circumference is equal to 7 times 3.14. Multiply these together, 7 times 3.14, and we get that their circumference is equal to 21.98 yards. And that's it for today's lesson. I hope you were able to follow along. Remember, if you ever have any struggles, you can go back and re-watch the lesson. There's nothing wrong with doing that. At any point, you can rewind and recheck stuff and make sure you got everything. Box our answers, and I hope you have a great evening.